Morning, Dominic.
Hey!
So
Happiness is easy.
happiness is easy. Um, I don't think I've ever featured my lovely microphone on this show, but I think
Okay, is that a new one?
no, it's not. It's the one I always use, but it never gets in shot, and I think it's very pretty. So I thought I'd just feature it this morning.
Okay, all right. And I shall. If we're doing show and tell, I'll show my hat
It's the
to
show
keep
and tell
warm.
episode,
Show and tell, and of course, hey, boss.
and Dominic's plants. Yeah, I'm in my kitchen this morning because it's cold, and this is the
Yeah,
warm.
it's cold as well. That's why I have the hat for emergency purposes. There
Yeah,
we go.
good idea. So, good morning. How's your week been?
How am I? How am I right now? I am in pain and happy at the same time. How could that be? It's all about change, what we're going to be talking about later on. Yes. How can you be happy and in pain? I went back to Kung Fu. I went back to Kung Fu. I said in the WhatsApp group, I see you January. They all thought, hey, when people say January, they never come back. I turned up yesterday, pow, straight in there with my walking stick.
So you're still kung fu fighting?
Still in there, and we need to add that to the playlist. Obviously, move it up to the top slot. You know, before 9 to 5, by Dolly Parton. But
Yeah,
yeah, I decided to, even though I wasn't 100%, and we're all adults. You got to, know who you are, know what the kind of person you want to be, and not overdo it. So I had to restrain, and my tendency of rushing into things is the reason I ended up in a having to take a pause on the kung fu. So, but yeah, I'm back to it. So suffering, in pain, but I'm happy at the same time that I kept that promise to myself of
yeah.
keeping
I,
up
I
with
was gonna, I was thinking about it, Dominic, because I'm gonna recommend Tai Chi to you. It's just a bit
it.
gentler on the body, but still good movements. It doesn't have the kudos of kung fu, but it's you know, a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do. So you're in pain, and I don't know if you got my email yesterday, but what I'd suggested that we maybe talk about is things that you can't change, and
Yeah,
pain is one of them.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I got the message. Yeah, talking about coping with things that we can't change.
Yeah, and I thought that's quite a big thing in life, isn't it? Because there's so much that could make us really unhappy, because we can't change them and they're not what we want them to be. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it, and we have this love-hate relationship with change. If you ask people, what's the worst thing? It's change. Yeah. People like things the way they are, but you can't grow unless you be uncomfortable. You can't create if you don't have a phase of being uncomfortable. You don't want to stay a child forever. Um, but there's that thing of, you know, change is inevitable, but sometimes you just want to go like, I want everything to stay the same,
just
please.
like it now. I just got used to it. I'm just
Yeah,
comfortable.
yeah, I know. And which is why then you get, that lean into nostalgia when things are really bad. People go like, "Oh, I wanted to be great again."
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that gets played on big time, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
There was
And
a
then,
time when everything was perfect. No, there wasn't.
yeah, and then when you actually have a closer look at that nostalgia, it's like, oh, I remember in the 70s when, like, the food, in the 70s, and people get nostalgic for like adverts of Smash potatoes, and I remember Smash potatoes. It was
Oh,
disgusting. It's a,
that was
it's
terrible.
floor
Yeah, the
scrapings,
70s,
put
that
in a
lovely
packet.
time when people used to die more frequently in car accidents and there was dog shit in
Yeah,
the streets. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and there was serious racism. I mean, not that it's not serious now, but I mean, there was big time racism, big time sexism.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it was great times. Why don't we bring those
Great time. Yeah.
because they were rubbish.
What is it? I can't remember where I was reading it, but Queen Victoria, I can't remember how many children she had, and a large percentage of them died.
Yep, yep,
And at that time, if she was Queen Victoria, she could afford every medical treatment under the sun, the top tier treatment.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were featuring a writer on She Wrote Too with they'd had 12 children and
Mm,
six of them survived
mm,
past the age of five, and that was quite normal. They weren't a rich family, but that
mm.
that was bog standard normal. I mean,
Yeah.
God, that's just unreal, isn't it? It's so yeah, when Queen Victoria couldn't have all of them survive, that shows you something. So yes, we actually quite like change, really, don't we? It's
We do, and we wouldn't have the society uh, we have today if we weren't hell bent on change. Oh, the environment we are currently in, I don't like being in this cave. I want something different. Oh, okay. I'm going to go off and build a house. Yeah, I'm going to build a hut and then I'm going to build a house and then I'm going to build like, a skyscraper. You know, we want to change things. We are hardwired to change things, but then, like I say, it's that love-hate relationship. We want to change. We want things to stay the same. you know, I want to be comfortable, can't grow unless I'm uncomfortable, do the work.
mm,
And
yeah,
it's too difficult. I want things to stay the same again. Oh, it was better back then. No, it wasn't.
yeah. Well, without wishing to be depressing, and I really don't want to be depressing, one of the reasons this topic came to me is because of a conversation that I had with my dad, where my mum and dad had asked to borrow the recording of my brother's funeral. That's why I say I don't wish to be depressing, because I'm not going to go on and on about my brother's death. But when a big event like that happens, it makes you think about
Mm,
a few things. And and my dad said, "Oh, it actually made me sad watching it this time and thinking about it again, more sad than I had been the first time." And I thought,
mm,
oh, okay, right. Well, that's interesting. That's good that he was recognizing how he felt for a start. But also, we got to talk about how my brother's problems, because he died due to his addiction, um, didn't really have another resolution. We had tried kind of every method. He'd been in 3 months of residential rehab. He was with every program that was possibly going. He was on
mm,
medication. He was under medical care. He was under my parents' care, and he still died from it. So we were talking about, ultimately, for that situation, that was actually the resolution, sad
mm,
as that is. And that's a horrible thing
mm,
to accept, because you always want to think that you can solve a problem. And maybe that
mm,
was the solution in the end. He didn't stop. And so it resolved itself. It stopped him. Which is a horrible way to look at it. But um, if you look at things that you really can't change, and he couldn't change it, we couldn't change it, that was the end. So our job now is to accept it. And there's all sorts of things that are not quite as sad as and personal as that we have to accept, because we don't have any power to change them. Does that make any sense to you, Dominic? Or am I rambling?
No, it does make sense, but you said we didn't want to go there, but we are going there because today is the birthday of my friend who died of cancer.
Right, we're going down
And
the depressing route then.
we
Okay.
are we are
No, it's
going
not
there
depressing. This is
with
what happens. This happens in life.
we are going there. And hadn't spoken to her in ages, reconnected, tells me, "Hey, how's it going? I've got 6 months to live. Nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. Terminal." So, due to her mindset and help of her friends. She lasted another 2 years, but ultimately she was always going to die. You
As we
know, all, as we all are, life is a terminal illness. It's going to get you sooner or later. Um, so it's a case of just like you're going through, you know, that thing about your brother, I'm going through that thing of like that friend I had. And then you start talking about them in the past tense, and that thing of like, okay, yeah, the best solution, like, the the resolution for your brother was that he passed away, and the resolution for my friend was that she passed away and she's no longer in pain. So you then have the situation of things you can't change. And my particular solution to that was to reframe. You know, there's first of all there's an aspect of you can reframe it, the experience, and then there's also of looking at it and saying you've got to be grateful. Because people come into your life and people go, and think situations change, but we have memories. Like this morning, I was thinking about, my son and my daughter. And I remember that we went to the cinema when, they were young. I mean, like, son was about 10 and my daughter was about 7. And we were in Bristol and their mother was visiting her sister. So it was just a day of just me and the kids. And we had a fantastic time. In the hotel we were watching children's TV. We went to the cinema, and to this day, quote, I can phone them up and just quote lines from the film that we went to see and have hysterical laughter. And so they have changed, but there's an element of them that hasn't changed. That there's still that thing, and I hope they never lose that sense of joy. But the reason why I'm saying that is because change is inevitable, but we got to remember the good times, the great times, and even the sad times. We got to The sad times
all
are
about
going
the
to happen.
emotional range, isn't it?
You can find the emotional range, and you're going to have the ups and downs. But when there's the downs, it's really, really hard to go like, oh yes, I'll be happy one day. And it's all about the emotional range and the ups and downs. And then it starts sounding like, woo.
Yeah, yeah. It brings us back to our idea that we often discuss that you don't have to be happy all the time, but you can accept what is outside your control. I think this is why I'm such a big fan of this. We've talked about it before, but acceptance commitment therapy, where you don't have to be fighting life. You can accept more if you can. You can try accept what is outside your control, and know what you can control. Because if you accept things, it's not resignation. It's actually changing a situation from a battle to um, to dealing with it. So instead of trying to fight against something, you're making space for reality and thinking, okay, most of this I can't control. I don't want this to be happening, really don't want this to be happening. But there's things that I can control within my response. Um, so actually, if you accept things, you free up the energy from fighting something and then can use it to, respond more effectively. Does that even make sense?
It does make sense, but I will have to counter that with
Yeah.
that pe- people sometimes go, no, I'm going to change this. I don't like the world the way it is, or I don't like this thing the way it is, and fully commit to trying to change it.
Yeah. And that's really
So,
important.
yeah, so it's that case of when do you stop? When do you accept, and when do you just keep plowing on? I'm like, I'm going to change this world that I see in front of me.
Yeah.
So for instance, I mean, I know it's in a slightly different tangent, but like Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
when like, there's that quote of like, well, if you don't like the world the way it is, change it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you were living in authoritarian America at the moment, I keep thinking this when I listen to the stories of what's going on. I think, where would I be? Where would I stand? And I sometimes think of putting myself in history, like with the suffragette movement. Where would I have
Mm.
been? Would I have been fighting, or would I have been shutting up and staying indoors? And I'm not entirely sure. I hope I would have
Mm.
been fighting, but maybe I would have tried to make my life easier. So I'm not kind of preaching, just accept things the way they
Yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would be stupid, because otherwise no one would ever make any political movement. What would you do if you were in the States at the moment? Supposing you were a senator who'd just been told that you ought to be killed for seditious behavior, for quoting the Constitution.
It's a crazy situation. I mean, I had a situation with my wife yesterday. I mean, that's actually that maybe sounds quite bad actually. But let me put it into context. Like she picked me up from Comfort. We were driving back, and this was at 9:15, and she thought she saw uh, a kid sitting on the grass. Right, it's dark, 9:15, and she said, "Let's go back and check if that kid is all right." And I went, "No, let's go home. It's none of our business." Right. And she was going like, "No, let's go and check on the kid." And I went, "No, let's go home." And her reasoning was, what if I was our child? We'd want somebody to, you know, um, check. And my argument was, if a child is out at 9:15, right, their parents or guardians must be aware of it. And also, if somebody's out at 9:15, they may be involved in stuff that is we don't want to get involved in. And thirdly, the last time I intervened in something, I saw a man and a woman looking like they were, the guy was giving her lots of verbals, and I intervened, and they both started on me. So, so those are the three reasons I was going like, right, no, let's go home. It's not our business. And my wife was adamant. So as she was driving, she spun the car around and went back to the spot she thought the kid was. Nearly had a crash, and the child wasn't there.
Okay.
So I my reason why I mentioned that is because you wouldn't, if you were in America now, you don't know what side you'd necessarily be on. We are hardwired for survival. So in in an ideal world, we'd all love to go like, oh yes, I would have I would have stood up and I would have like fought them, you know. But in reality, there's that survival thing that kicks in, goes like, I need to make it to the next day.
Well, actually, I read a book about this. You'll be surprised to hear. Um,
Hey, really?
Not amongst my cookery books, because I'm in the kitchen at the moment. I
Mm,
think it's in the other room, but
mm,
uh, surprisingly, it's about this woman who deals with disasters. She's a disaster specialist. She gets called in when there's something goes wrong, because she can organize, um, emergency response. And I wish I could remember her name. She's really great. I went to one of her talks, but she says, surprisingly, people run towards disaster to help rather than run away. And she says on TV, they always show people running from disaster. And actually, the opposite is true. When people see something go really wrong, they go to it to help. And that is their primary instinct. And then they get away when they realize that things are in place. And that's when they film them, because that's the time that the film crew turn up, getting away from it. But the first thing they do is go towards it, which I found really surprising, because it's the opposite of what the images that we get shown. But she said that's because the film crews turn up a few minutes later.
right.
So people do go to help. That is what they do.
Mm,
Um, uh, because they don't think of their own danger first.
Right.
They think, oh my God, someone's in trouble. They need some help. So yeah, interesting. Good book.
Mm.
I'll have to get it before the end of episode. But well, I'm glad that your wife stuck to her position. I was wondering where your story was going because I was thinking I would do the same as she did. But I do think that's easier if you're a woman because you're not gonna um get the same suspicion. If a guy did the same thing, I think that could be mistaken.
Mm,
But you can go in a mumly way and kind of go, is everything all right? And no one
mm.
would think that you're being dodgy. They
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
take it as you being maternal.
yeah. And that's a very strong point you've got there, because it's public perceptions or whatever. It's that thing of yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really interesting. Well, I'm glad the child had gone and they they'd gone home or wherever they'd gone. Hope they weren't in trouble. But yeah, what other thoughts did you have about this before I carry on rambling on?
Well, I was talking about my particular angle on change was that about reframing it. So my thing was, um, I wrote a book about um, my inspired by my friend's cancer ordeal, and I had another friend who was going through cancer as well. She had breast cancer and she survived, and I had another friend who had some other health issues. I had about four friends who were in somewhere or other having, catastrophic life events. So my solution for my for them and for me was to write about it, and then my way of like controlling the narrative to a certain degree,
Yeah,
which is one of my coping strategies. It's like, okay, how do you reframe it? You can write the story about it. You can There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end, but you can decide what type of story that is and the light you shine on it. It's a case of, you know, they died. Okay, but you can focus on they died young, or you could focus on the great things that they managed to do in that particular time. You could shine a light on the friendships they had. There's whole ways that you can do it to frame it in a particular way which brightens your mood, brightens and lifts the energy.
yeah, yeah. Do you think that's why we're both writers? Because it actually gives you some element of control because you can tell your own story.
Absolutely. I was thinking about this. When you write, it's almost like a reverse Horcrux. If you're in the Harry Potter same thing, because like that was like there's an when you write and it's in a story, then there's an element of the people you write about, even if it's fiction, or people who've inspired the story are within that. So it's just like it's the same with music, isn't it? You listen to some music and you go like, "Oh, I remember what I was doing when I first heard that tune," or "This tune reminds me of certain people or certain places or certain experiences." It's the same thing as a writer. Like I'll write something, and then even though I might not specifically reference a person or a situation or people, the experiences that I've had that have shaped that story remind me of that experience, and I feel that's carried within that.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting that you mentioned music because in my notes I've written allowing the full orchestra of emotion.
Oh,
So I had thought about music in thinking about this topic. Yeah, yeah. So it is all the sensory experiences. Um, that fit with your life experience, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Going back to my notes, because I've got one thing that occurred to me. Have you heard of this idea, stoic optimism? Um,
Hang on, isn't that an oxymoron?
no,
Stoic optimism.
stoic optimism, because it's about, well, I think both. Would you say you're an optimist? I'm an optimist. I'm a very hopeful person. Would you put yourself in that category? Optimism and hope are different things, actually, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm both. I'm hopeful and optimistic. What do you? Where would you put yourself?
Oh, an optimistic realist.
Go and explain that to me.
The glass is half full, but needs topping up on a regular basis.
Like that.
There's a hole in the bottom.
Right, so you got to keep topping it up. I'd swim
Absolutely.
the hole, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So, my natural it's the kung fu, my words are slipping out wrongly. I, I have a naturally extrovert, optimistic disposition, but life has a habit of going, "Oh, you're an optimist, are you? Pow! One of those punches.
Ooh,
Ah!" Life grinds you down. Like, okay,
trying
oh,
to.
thanks. And so so then it's got to work really hard to get back to that optimistic vibe and not go into the glass is half empty.
Mm. Um, you see, when I say about hope and optimism, that they're slightly different things because optimism could be slightly Pollyanna-ish, slightly unrealistic, whereas hope
Mm.
is realistic. It's like
Hmm.
if something bad happens, then you believe that there is some way out.
Mm.
You might feel knocked for a bit, but then you think, okay. And I think of it. Do you remember the film Forrest Gump from the 90s?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mother, the mother, her saying, "Oh, she said there's always something can be done." And I just have that in my head at all times, really. Is like, I think, what is it? There's always something can be done. And
Mm.
that, I think, is a really high hope thought. It's
Hmm.
okay, I might not see it at the moment, but there will be something that you can do in response. And if I can't see it immediately, it will come. I just
Hmm.
gotta, I suppose that's the optimism, is like, um, I know there will be something to do to cope with whatever it is that's chucked at you that you don't want. Because there's
Hmm.
plenty of curveballs that come your way that you don't want, aren't there? Always. Um,
Always.
and and then you think, right, now what? um, but that's when Forrest Gump's mum says to me, "There's always something can be done." Um, so that's the sort of the optimism with stoicism, I think. So why did you think that was an oxymoron? Because
Well,
stoicism
what
is
it
about how we can't control events, isn't it?
okay.
So is that what you're saying? That it's too,
Yeah.
yeah. But you have so much, you've explained how to me. Thank you very much for doing so, by the way, what it's like living with racism in this country, and yet you're an optimistic person when you have to deal with a whole bag of shit every day. I'm not laughing at that, by the way. It's just like,
So, but
what are
that's
you
what then
doing?
comes that's what I was saying about, you have the glass half full and the glass half empty, and there's a hole in the bottom. So
Yeah,
you have to keep topping it up, and you can't necessarily control the rate of the the size of the hole in the bottom of the glass.
yeah, yeah.
So you're constantly mindful of how to, you have to keep really feeling it, which takes energy in itself. To go like, right, okay, I know this is battering me, but I have to, challenge that with you know, happiness, etc. For every negative thought, you need 10 positive ones to counteract it. It's a ratio of 10 to 1, which is which is which
Hi.
is a lot.
It's hi. Yeah. Yeah.
But that is the issue in life, isn't it? We get back to like emotional range and all those sorts of things. It is, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a toolbox so we can deal with every situation that comes our way. And the toolbox today is like, okay, there's certain things you cannot change. And it's recognizing, right, okay, you tried everything, right? You've done the woo, you've done the mindfulness, you've gone under every nook and cranny. We've paid the fortunes out, been to addiction clinics, we've seen all the top doctors, we've read we've we've looked into the life of Queen Victoria and how she dealt with things. And ultimately some things you can't change. So then that's when the acceptance comes in. And you got
I
to go
have
like,
got a
right.
toolbox. Dominic, I've got a toolbox. Number one.
Well,
Number one, what part of this situation is genuinely not mine to change? Number two, what is mine? And number three, how can I bring my personal strengths to change the part that is mine? So that might be your kindness, your persistence, your humor, your intellect, your ability to relax. It might be anything. It might be any strengths that you've got. So it's one, what is genuinely mine not to change. So that doesn't mean giving up. Or say if you're a citizen of a country that's going wrong, you should be trying to change it. You don't give up. But in a situation, there's some things that you really, really can't change. Like if someone dies or if they're ill, you can't, unless you're a doctor, do anything about that. Two, what is mine to change? And three, how do I bring my own strengths to this situation to change the bit that I can change? Which might be your response, or you might be able to do something. So that was my little toolkit bit for today.
there you go. There you go. Always have the toolkit. Always have the toolkit.
Not
I
a
think that I
toolkit,
think
not
that
a
I
toolkit.
think the third I think the third one there I think the third one there is very important. Very important. What strengths of yours can you bring to the table?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd also add a 3B about your weaknesses, knowing your weaknesses as well. You can bring strength to the table, but also be aware of your weaknesses so they don't get.
But Dominic, I'm a positive psychologist. I ignore weaknesses. I say they're all right. Don't worry about them. Everybody's got weaknesses. What we don't need to give them any focus. Work as a team. If you and you don't need to worry about your weaknesses. You look at your strengths. It doesn't mean you think that you're perfect. It
No,
means you know what you're bringing.
yeah, exactly. I said be
Sorry.
aware of them. I said just be aware of them. Because if you've got to have the awareness, if you know your strengths, you also got to know, your weaknesses. Like, okay, you're the sort of person that your weaknesses, like in stress situations, you lean to a particular negative behavior, for instance. It's good to be aware of that. What you can bring your strengths to a situation, but also know aware, like, okay, in a stressful situation, I lean this particular way as a weakness. I need to be aware of that so I don't do that.
Okay. Um. Yeah. Okay. Perhaps an awareness, but not too much focus. I
I,
think.
I, I didn't say focus. I said awareness.
Good. So we're not in disagreement then.
No, we're not in disagreement. I think there's a brain freeze now. Are we arguing? After 2 years, are we having an argument on camera? No, I just said be aware of it. I don't say focus on it.
Actually, oh, that'd be a good other topic because there's nothing wrong with having an argument. Um, no, I always really like it when people disagree with me. I'm always telling students that I work with, I go, please disagree with me, please disagree with me,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm not necessarily, I'm not necessarily right. I certainly never am always right. And and so I really like hearing other perspectives. I don't take
Yeah,
it offensive in the slightest. I'm
yeah,
always really interested to hear a different view, because
yeah,
that's an interesting part of change, isn't it? Because
yeah, absolutely.
when someone comes at something with a different perspective from me, I'm really, really genuinely interested. I think it's probably something I haven't thought enough about.
Yeah, yeah.
And perhaps I should pay some attention to that. But yeah, strengths-based acceptance. Um, I think a really important thing for people to think about, and they might not be aware of, because we get criticized so much in life through school and at work. I mean, how many appraisals have you heard of where they bloody tell them what is the matter with them? They say, you're not doing well enough at this, you're not doing well enough at that. And people come out of appraisals sometimes really angry, feeling defensive, really upset. What do those people think they're achieving by doing that? You
I,
must
I,
know about this.
my top tip every time we came to appraisals, put five for everything. You're fantastic at everything. Because how many times you do an appraisal like, and it's a self-assessment to start off with, like, how would you rate yourself between 1 and 5, and like one is you're not very good, and you put like one on something, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, you really need to focus on this. Go off and do this, and it's like, I remember my wife. She used to be a computer programmer, right? She used to be a systems analyst for in the NHS, and then she went on to become a physio. And then she had an appraisal, right? And she said, and it had computing, and she put a one down. I said, "What do you put a one down for? You used to be a systems analyst, a computer programmer." She said, "Yeah, but the office computer system that we've got to put the notes on is terrible, right? I can't use it properly. It's just badly written." So she's put a one down. I said, "No, you can't put that down." I said, "Change it to a 5, right? Because you put a one down, it's first of all, it's not your problem, right? It's their problem to fix. And you put a one down, it's going to be a nightmare for you for 6 months."
They're going to say it's her problem.
Right. What happened? She put a one down. Nightmare for her for 9 months. Every appraisal afterward. Well, you need to look at the computing side of things. After that, I started doing her appraisal self-assessments for her. I said, "I said, I'll just send it. Oh, I'll put it in the diary. Okay, it's coming through. I'll put it in for you. Fives, fives, fives. Fantastic at everything. Yeah, that's it. Levels. Boom. They left her alone."
But this is my point about the strengths, is that this comes back to why we shouldn't really be that concerned with what our weaknesses are, because
Mm,
people have strengths and weaknesses. We all know that, and you don't
mm,
have to be perfect. You need to work in teams, and
mm,
um, what we should be doing is not trying to spend energy on our weaknesses. We should be using our strengths. We should be going, look, I'm really good at this. This is what I should be doing. What's the point in spending energy on something that you are naturally not very good at? Someone else can do it because they will be good at it.
mm,
So that's the point, is we spend this time berating ourselves and then
mm.
feeling rubbish. And actually, no, bollocks, I'm not very good at that. I don't have to pay attention to it. I'm going to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
what I am good at. And
yeah,
if we
yeah.
work together, that works really well. Bees in a hive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because everybody's brain's different.
Yeah. So, how do you think that, because we have this culture of being quite critical, which starts at school, how
Mm,
do you think that people can um, think more about their strengths? Because everybody has them. Everybody has them. And I work with some kids who think they're rubbish at everything because school just judges them on stuff that they're not very good at, but they are good at something, and it's not bringing it out. And so it does
mm.
start when you're young. Um, and it's really the wrong thing to spend your energy on. So, what do you think we can offer to say, think about what you're good at?
Well, it really is a case of, um, well, I've always said that if somebody's giving you their opinion about you, or what is their agenda, first of all, and you know, because there is always, and because they have their own particular lens of seeing the world. Like everybody should sit in rows in school, and everybody should look at them towards the front and copy, write that down, and they go home and memorize that. And that doesn't work for like 85% of people. All boys should do metal work and woodwork, and all girls should learn to type
Yeah.
and
Oh
do
my God.
sewing.
Apart from at my school, where the head teacher was asked in, oh, I was going there in the 80s. So, and the head teacher was asked, do the girls learn typing? I was at a girls' grammar school, right? And she went, we do not teach typing at, I can name the school, Dr. Challoner's High School. We do not turn out secretaries from Dr. Challoner's High School. And how wrong had she got that? We all need to type now. And she was really snobbishly saying that no, we turn out doctors and lawyers and, they will have their own secretaries. We don't teach typing. We all need to bloody type now. It would have been a really handy thing.
But the thing is, we don't need to type because we can talk into our
Well, we
phones and
can
it'll
talk
type
it now.
automatically.
Yeah, but for the
Yeah.
last 10, 20 years, we've all been needing to type. Yeah. So, but that's an aside.
Mm, mm.
So, how do you know what your strengths are, Dominic? I mean, with your professional background, you must have done a lot of work on strengths.
But the first thing people have to is to declutter their minds, isn't it? It's like people you could write people say all different things about you. You can go like, okay, who are your teachers, who are your family, who are your you know parents, guardians, etc. People you hang out with, enemies. You can write down all the things that they say about you, all right? And then you go like, well, do you believe them, right? And secondly, is there any evidence for this? Well, there is no evidence for this for a lot of these things, like right? And for most of the things that they say, and then you go like, okay, there's no evidence. They're based on nonsense, and then you go like, okay, once you've done that aspect, got that out of the way, so then it's a case of the quietness and go like, okay, what do you think your personal strengths are? But it's the first thing is you've got to like almost deprogram, and it's
Mm,
really hard actually when you're young, isn't it? Because you go, oh, like because you have authority figures
yeah,
who 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 have an immense amount of power over you. Oh, and you believe what they say. It's like, oh, so as a child, it's like if somebody says, oh, you're really good at this, and then you actually believe it. If you say, oh, you're really bad at that, you actually believe it
yeah,
because you are a sponge when you're younger. But then when you're older, you know more, but you're almost hardwired. So I don't know what's worse to be old and hardwired and have to like turn your inner core to mush again to rebuild it, or trying to learn this stuff when you're younger and you're going against you know the the society and the authority figures are on you. I mean, when you're younger, it's really hard to go like, actually, everything I'm being told is rubbish.
yeah,
I mean, I'm fortunate that my godfather was, a top-ranking lawyer at the time when he
yeah.
was
That's
like
such
judge
a
in the
great
UK,
story, Dominic.
because that insulated me to a great degree against the nonsense I was, being told like, oh, black people can only do this and that, and
And he told you can do anything, didn't he?
well, not really. He said like, oh, you should be a lawyer. that was his thing. It's like, why would you do anything else? Everybody,
Yes, as a
everybody
former
should be a
lawyer, I
lawyer.
would do anything else apart from being a lawyer. Yeah,
And he basically was going like, everybody should be a lawyer. That's what you should do. Everything. So that was his conversation. Then be like, when you're going to start doing your law degree? Like,
it's quite
when it's never too late. Like, so, but he didn't actually have to say you could do anything you like. The fact that he existed. So and you can't do something unless you see it. So when I'm being bombarded by the television and go like, oh, uh, black people are always in the supporting roles. They're never the leads. Their opinions are never validated, etc. I go like, oh, actually, this what I'm being told is actual lies because I know someone in real life who isn't any of that, and I can phone him up anytime I like.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of and a lot of people, but when they're younger, I suppose, don't have that, especially from working class communities, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I remember I was watching a podcast with a writer, and she said that she wrote a book when she was 13 or 14, and she sent it to an editor, right, a publishing house, and she got a phone call. Now, me and you know that for her to get for the editor to phone her back and go like, what? Or write a response. That girl at 13 connected, and then she went to Cambridge University or whatever.
Yeah.
But she must her parents must have been connected because I know for a fact, no matter how great a story I write when I was 13, no publisher is calling me back to go, hey, what you got? This shows a lot of promise. You should focus on da 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 da. No, that's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also if you're from a working class background, you don't see that.
No.
And no one's telling you like, oh yeah, just write send off to an editor, and chance of getting a response, 50-50. It's not happening.
Yeah. Well, the chances of getting a response are much lower than that, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
not going to respond at all.
So
Yeah.
you got to see it to be it. We'll put on a mug next to name it to tame it.
But I think if we because we're getting to the time where we have to wrap up today, um,
Yeah.
um, I think maybe our mug phrase today is control your attention, not the universe. Um, and because that's basically what you can do, isn't it? Um,
Mm,
even if you're dealing with injustice, which a lot of people are all the time, and uh, difficulty and things that you can't have any influence on. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try and have influence on things that you can influence. And maybe people underestimate what they can influence.
hmm
What do you think about that? We can spend a minute on that before we wrap up. But um, I don't think people should be afraid of what they can influence either. What do you think? We shouldn't sort of roll over and die as citizens.
No, we shouldn't, but we are kept in a perpetual state of unease, aren't we?
Mm,
You know, we've only got 30 seconds left, but Western culture likes us that way. If you're in a perpetual state of unease, then we're easier to control.
yeah.
And then if you're in a state that we're easy to control, then we feel powerless. So when you say we should focus our attention, then that is the perfect answer.
Yeah, we can control our attention,
Yeah.
not get pushed around.
hmm
We've got a bit radical today on happiness is easy.
We have. We have. Always. That's always. Got to keep it radical. All right. So there we go. Happiness
Happiness
is
is
easy
easy.
with me, Dominic Nelson Ashley, and Nicola Todd-Morgan. See you next time.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.